Hello, world. My name is Mr. Vinicor, and I love video games.
I'm the Megabuck. I really love video games.
And my name is Ralph. I also love video games.
Welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we discuss treasured video games of yesterday and today. And we kick Mac off of the show. Sorry, guys, if you're a big Mac fan.
I will fight for my brother. No, you cannot have him.
We invaded his secret studio. Yeah. We stole his files, and we took over the podcast. At least for today.
I have his bank account too.
Mac is on strict vocal rest. He has a performance coming up, so we wish him all the best and his rest and his live show. So we are going to take a crack at this thing. Yeah, pretty much.
I think we got this. We got this, guys. Come on.
Oh yeah. We have a fun little show lined up for you. We're going to be discussing our top game devs. But before we do that, we're going to tap our buddy, the Megabuck, on the shoulder to take us back in time.
Let's go back in time. Maybe I should have been a little more extreme. I don't know.
What do you mean?
with my back in time. Sometimes I do it to like theme around the thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did you pick Super Mario Brothers? Because that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's a gem, I guess. It's a very common gem, but it's still fun. No, I'm going on the N64, boys.
Oh shit!
Which we haven't done enough of. If you guys didn't know, we've done enough episodes that by like episode 40, I was like, crap, I have to start keeping track of all these retro zones, or I will start overlapping things when I get excited about a game. And while the former might be more popular, released in 2000.
Okay.
The early inspiration would be 1998's 1080 for the N64.
Okay. I love this game,
dude.
Yeah.
Rad.
Yes. Great
this
game.
Is a good one. Yeah.
Referring to also SSX on the PS2, which is obviously the extremely popular, snowboarding game. But this came a couple years before that. Yeah, 1080. I mean, first of all, if you didn't try to do a 1080 over and over again in this game, you weren't doing it right.
Right?
I rented this game from Blockbuster, and man, this is a fun ass game, dude. This is a really good one. Good choice.
One of the coolest things about 1080 to me is that this was an Nintendo in-house developed game. This was EAD. Nintendo EAD did this, and so literally Miyamoto produced this game.
Whoa! I didn't know that. That's wild, dude.
What is Nintendo EAD?
That's just the short name for the development studio, kind of like Sega AM2. Nintendo EAD is one of they have like those 6 or 7 or 8 different in-house development, and Miyamoto's team was like development dev team 4 or something like that. And then it was like, yeah, they're the best one. We're just going to give them their own name.
Yeah, R&D 4 is the one that typically
R&D 4.
That's the one that you always hear about.
It's the same. By the time I got to N64, they just renamed, I believe, that dev team. And Miyamoto overseeing it too. There was a sequel on the GameCube as well too, but I don't think they made any more after that.
That's wild. I'm watching footage of this game, and it looks really good for an N64 title, like surprisingly so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this game looks gorgeous.
More than anything else, too.
Sends his regards on this one, but missed opportunity. They should have put Mario in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, it would have been that easy.
Kind of funny. I think it's because they were going for that extreme. They were going for the Tony Hawk crowd.
Right. So had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater already existed, right?
Oh,
that was like a 99
that was
or
PS1,
98, right? PS1, right?
So
okay.
That had already been
big time.
Going
for
that same extreme
I think they were
sports
going
crowd.
for that without attacking the exact same market, let's call it.
Makes sense.
Wow.
Makes sense.
I played the hell out of it.
Tell us. What kind of preferences do we have to get something like a 1080 in our box?
Yeah,
so we have two sports categories, as you guys know. We have real/simulation sports, and we have fun sports. And while this is kind of blurs the line between that two, I think everybody kind of agrees that games like Tony Hawk, 1080, SSX are definitely more fun sports than simulation sports.
Right.
They're not an
arcade
NBA. Yeah, they're not an NBA 2K. They're not a whatever home run derby kind of
NCAA
game.
99 featuring Boston College on the cover or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Bulls versus Lakers.
The stats are all wrong.
Playoffs.
Johnny Football should have been the top of the passing list. Yeah.
You're not going to see Shaun White in this game, right? Yeah.
Right. No. Yeah. But again, it kind of helped kick off that whole snowboarding genre too.
It's so crazy. It was such a fun, easy to jump into genre. I have a lot of fond memories of SSX 1 and 2, especially like the soundtrack to those games.
Yep.
Were just epic.
Yep. They definitely competed on that respect because 1080 has a decent soundtrack, but it's a tad bit repetitive because N64.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yep.
Damn.
Fantastic.
Good pick.
1080 snowboarding for the Nintendo 64. If you've not checked it out, you can get your own retro box full of gems like this through retrogametreasure.com, run by our very own The Megabuck. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
You got it.
We're going to take a quick break here, and then we are going to jump in with some game dev gems for you. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Today's episode, we are focusing on our favorite, well, not necessarily our favorite, but our game dev gems that we wanted to bring to the table. These are developers, these are studios that are the ones actually making the games. So before we jump in, Buck, can you give us a quick rundown between the difference between a dev and a publisher, just so everybody's on the same page?
Sure. I love that too. As you guys know, I love the business aspect of that stuff too.
Yeah,
I never wanted to get into that industry because it's so cutthroat and scary. We have some friends that are game devs and they're constantly having to get new jobs every 3 years, and that sucks.
It's wild.
We feel for you guys.
We do.
The developers are these studios that actually make the games. They hire the staff, the programmers, the art people, the art direction people. They are this is where this is different from the film industry, because in the film industry a lot of this gets done kind of all in one by the movie studios. So in the case of the game industry, the developers actually produce the game. The publishers are usually just the money guys. They're the ones that will either give the studio money to make the game, put money behind the marketing of the game to get it out there, the distribution of the game. They handle more of those business aspects so the developers can be the artistic people, right?
Very good. So a clear distinction between the people who are actually creating the games itself and the people that are marketing, releasing, doing the more businessy side, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, very good. So since we are switching things up anyway, I usually go last, and we're doing a 3 for today. I will go first, and I wanted to bring to the table the British video game developer and currently a studio of Xbox Game Studios based in Twycross, Leicestershire. Can't exactly pronounce it.
An attempt was made, and it was a good one.
It's rare.
It's rare. It's rare.
It's a good attempt.
Leicester. I think it's pronounced Leicester. I think I was Leicester. I don't know. It's weird.
It's spelled Leicestershire. Because I'm American, and that's how I would say Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. Yeah,
it's rare,
Worcestershire.
guys.
You got it.
Leicester? I think Leicestershire? I don't know. You guys are funny.
You know,
across the pond.
the beautiful blue and gold spinning R that you see in the titles of yore, that is Rare. Rare's been around for a long time. A lot of people don't realize Rare used to be a second-party developer for Nintendo. Yeah. And they got that way through a very interesting story that I wasn't even aware of until Buck brought it to my attention yesterday. The company was founded by two brothers, Tim and Chris Stamper, in 1987, I believe. Yeah, that's about right. And they got on the map by basically going to Nintendo and saying, hey, look, we're going to reverse engineer a Famicom and we're going to make games for it. And they said, you can't do that. You can't really do it. Well, they did. And Nintendo was like, huh?
They literally said at that point, we're just going to give you guys an unlimited budget to make NES games now. And that's when they made Wizards and Warriors and RC Pro-Am and Battletoads and all that kind of stuff.
They came on the map with Wizards and Warriors, and that was their first title in 87. RC Pro-Am following that in 1988. And then they really came on the map, and there was a lot more hype for Nintendo games by the 90s.
Yeah.
And when Battletoads hit in 1991, that was just a breakout hit. Not only just for Rare, but for Nintendo in general, because it was such a difficult game. And it was one of those games where it's a sign of the times, right? You got most of your video game information from magazines like Nintendo Power, and
Game Pro,
EGM, and Game Pro. Exactly. And Battletoads was one of those rare games, no pun intended, one of those games that actually was so difficult that all the magazines got a lot of bang for their buck, and they poured a lot of resources into making guides for Battletoads.
It's what led to the Nintendo Power generation, basically, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the earliest Nintendo Power issues, not to segue, but was the Final Fantasy 1 strategy guide. Gotcha. So they realized that really early on.
Right.
I remember getting that thing in the mail, man. Like, what is this? This is a full strategy guide? What? Yeah. I got to tell you how invaluable that was. However, in 1994, Nintendo had come to own a large minority stake in the company with the release of a little game in 94 called Donkey Kong Country. Baby.
Dude.
No one ever heard of it, right? Yeah. Just a little game called Donkey Kong Country, right?
How about we're going to take one of your like biggest IPs, Donkey Kong, and just like, we're not just going to flip it on its head. We're going to flip it on its head, shove it in a barrel, and shoot it to the moon.
Hell yeah.
God, I love DK Country, I swear. And back in the day, if you were a Nintendo Power subscriber, I swear I have it around here somewhere. As a subscriber, they sent out these promo VHS cassette tapes in a green leaf VHS sleeve of banana leaves. You got yours? Can you show it, please?
I don't have it right here, but I do have mine. Right here. Within reach almost. I have my Killer Instinct soundtrack.
Yeah. They sent these things out. You pop in your VHS, and it literally took you to Redmond, Washington on a behind the scenes guided tour and a sneak peek at the very first ever look at Donkey Kong Country.
The hype train was real.
The hype train was insane. I remember renting that game at our local video store. On day one, they had like 20 something copies. I got like number 18 out of 20. They were going like hotcakes. It was wild.
Didn't Donkey Kong Country become like a pack-in game for the SNES at some point?
They did make.
There was a bundle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's not too many had that. Have had that honor.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, nice,
that's true.
Nice.
So then Rare went on to the next generation. They made some Nintendo. Well, they were also they also had a big hand in the Ultra 64 conversation with their development of Killer Instinct. And then once the Ultra 64 came out as the Nintendo 64 in 64, of course, they didn't stop. The GoldenEye came out, Banjo-Kazooie in 98, Perfect Dark in 20,000 in the year 2000.
Which just celebrated like a 25 anniversary.
Right. And one of my personal favorites, Conker's Bad Fur Day for the N64.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
I worked at GameStop at the time when Bad Fur Day came out.
Magical.
The whispering that we had to do around this game was like just epic. Like we're selling this game to adults. Like, hey man, have you seen Conker's Bad Fur Day? You see these like little cute animals? It's not a little cute animal game. They're talking about like, hangovers and getting drunk, and they throw poop. He sings about pooping it. Yeah. The flower has huge knockers. Yeah. So
how many angry parents did you get coming back in after they bought their kid this game and like, what the fuck is this?
2.
Really? Okay, it's weird that it's a specific number.
and they were nuclear. The reason I remember them is because they were absolutely nuclear Baptist elementary school Baptist moms that had no idea what they had just done. The Pandora's box that they had unwrapped.
There was a rating system by then. The only excuse is you're a bad parent.
You gotta read
nothing.
It,
I got nothing. Well, to wrap up on Rare, they are, like I said at the beginning, an in-house development studio for Xbox at this point. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's what's up?
I was gonna say that was a frustrating part in their history, because I remember when Microsoft bought them. The first thing that they did was they wasted all their freaking resources on having them make those me lookalikes on the 360. That is what they did with Rare. Like, let me get this straight. You bought the company that made Donkey Kong Country and Killer Instinct and GoldenEye and all of these games, and you want I hate you so much right now, Microsoft.
It's a sad period, but they did make Sea of Thieves, right?
They did, actually.
They eventually started making games again.
That game is fun. That's a good one.
Sea of Thieves got Rare in my opinion, the new the new generation of exposure that it needed.
Right.
So, as of October of last year, though, Microsoft promoted like their head guy to the head of Xbox, to the head of Xbox Game Studios. So that could be really good for Rare, or it could be not so good.
There were a lot of ex-Rare employees that went on to do their own thing. One of them founded Free Radical Design, the guys that made Time Splitters, all the Time Splitters games. And the other one formed Platonic. Those are the guys that made the spiritual successors. They made those Yooka-Laylee games, which are basically just, new Banjo-Kazooie titles.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yooka-Laylee was solid.
They were really fun. As much as I didn't play a lot of Banjo, I liked that one. And the second one too, the one that was a little more like Donkey Kong Country.
Well, that is going to be it for me for Rare. So since we're changing things up anyway, who wants to go next with theirs? Buck, Raph, any volunteers?
Go for it. We'll flip it on its head.
Yeah,
man.
Right, cool. So obviously, I'm not going to go with the AAA developer.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah, you guys know me.
Did you scour through Steam and write in weird developer that only makes Scandinavian games where the words are backwards and the colors are inverted?
You found his search history for real?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I know. I was actually ready for this. When I heard the prompt, I already knew what developer I was going to pick because I have a favorite indie dev. Although if I had picked a AAA studio, it probably would have been Capcom, Shout out to Mac because I definitely know he probably would have picked Capcom. So yeah,
that's a good choice.
I was this close to wanting Capcom, but it was.
We might talk about that in the future. So yeah, just little hint as to what might be happening later. But the developer that I have chosen is called Puppet Combo. Now you might be asking yourself, who the hell is Puppet Combo?
I am.
You are, right?
I'm not because of you. I'm not.
Puppet Combo is the nom de plume or nom de guerre, I guess, used by Benedetto Ben Kokuza. He's a guy that's based out of Brooklyn, and he specializes. Yep,
Benedetto from Brooklyn.
The truest of indie devs from Brooklyn.
Cousin Benedetto, hey.
Benedetto Kokusa.
You keep stirring that sauce.
This guy,
I could not have possibly guessed you're going to say Brooklyn at the end of that.
And making survival horror games in the style of PS1 survival horror games of yesteryear. He originally developed games under the name Pig Farmer Games. Right there. That's fucking wild. But Kokusa started developing games in like the year 2000, I want to say, under that name. And his desire was to make games based off of slasher films. In particular, like 1970s, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of exploitation horror films. That was like his whole vibe. His earliest game was something called Sanitarium Massacre. It was a stealth game where you play as the serial killer who's stalking around a sanitarium in the year of 1978. He made the soundtrack himself using Ableton, actually, and that kind of became like a staple later on of every Puppet Combo game, having these really badass sort of like synth soundtracks that kind of emulate slasher films from the 70s and 80s. Sanitarium Massacre eventually was scrapped, and it became something. It became a Halloween fan game. Like he was trying to literally make Halloween, the movie, the game. Obviously that did not go
much better than the Atari version.
No, that did not go very far before the creators of Halloween slapped him with a notice and said, no, you can't do that. So that ended up becoming a game called Babysitter Bloodbath, which was really his first initial real horror game that he made. And going forward, it kind of established his style too, which is that third and first person style, tank controls, that low polygon PS1 style, the exploitation film look, graphic violence, and a lot of shocking imagery. 2018, fast forward a little bit, he ends up putting out a Patreon account, gets very popular. He's a very prolific developer. This dude develops I used to be subbed to his Patreon, and he develops at least a demo or like a new. What's up?
I'm watching a clip of Babysitter Bloodbath and I got jump scared.
It's scary as fuck, dude. I played it. Perfect. And it's one that you can find, I think, on his itch.io, and he's got a few games on Steam as well. Slowly gotten more and more popular, but dude, Babysitter Bloodbath like really kind of established like his whole thing. Going forward, he's developed a lot of little games. Like I said, he's very prolific. He develops like a new demo or a new sort of like prototype every month. So yeah, he puts in work. In 2018, he released what is, in my opinion, probably one of his scariest games, and it's one that I've played when I used to do YouTube videos. It's called Nun Massacre. Nun Massacre, the player takes on the role of a mother that's traveled to a boarding school to find their daughter who is enrolled at this boarding school.
Boarding school. You said a board. Okay, just double check.
Yeah, a boarding school. Yeah, not an a boarding school. But
not a boarding school.
Right. So when she gets there, you find that the building is completely empty. It's abandoned, decrepit, and then all the while there is a murderous nun that's running around this place trying to kill you.
Hell no.
Yeah, you have to sneak around a la Alien Isolation, like that style of game. That's basically what this is. You're sort of like stealthily trying to sneak around, solving puzzles as you try to escape. It has a very distinct giallo feel. It feels like an Italian horror film, kind of inspired by the film Suspiria. He's gone on to make a whole shitload of games. I'll just kind of like briefly go over a list of some of my favorites or ones that I've heard of that are very popular. One called The Glass Staircase. It's a very Resident Evil-like game inspired heavily by Italian zombie films of the 1970s. Day 7, which is his Backrooms game. It's a Backrooms inspired sort of Resident Evil style horror game. Night Watch, it's a horror game where you play as a park ranger as a killer stalks the park that you're working and living in. A game called Spiders, which is like a boomer shooter style wave game where you're fighting off hordes of gigantic spiders, a la the movie Eight-Legged Freaks. And then a game called Feed Me Billy, where you play as basically a serial killer who runs around killing people so he can feed this otherworldly mouth that lives in his bedroom.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Wild games, like he has a very distinct style, and it's something about it. It's just dripping and cool. Like when you play the games, you turn them on, and then you get this sort of like intro that looks like an old VHS. You know, you've got like the like title card that comes up, Puppet Combo games, and then you get like actual credits and stuff, and like just cool music that just kicks in. But in 2020, he released what was probably one of his biggest commercial successes, which is a game called Murder House. In Murder House, you play as an intern for a local news station as they do a news report on the home of the now deceased serial killer known as the Easter Ripper. You slowly discover that the Ripper may not be so deceased and is now stalking the old mansion throughout the house, trying to find you. You have to like try to survive, and the killer wants you to play their game, which is you have to find all the Easter eggs. Yeah.
Oh my god, you're being chased by this Easter bunny.
Right, dude. You're getting chased by the Easter bunny. It's super scary. The game ends in a final confrontation with the killer. Their true identity is revealed in a very shocking twist, actually. Really great game. It's one that I've come close to beating, but that final boss fight is a pain in the ass. And then in 2022, he released his newest game, which is one that I've talked about on here before. I think I talked about it in one of the most recent recordings, but Stay Out of the House is an immersive sim inspired heavily by 1978's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You play a character that has been kidnapped. You're in the house. You have several days to try to escape. And it's a sandbox style game where you can kind of approach that goal in any way that you want. Very, very fucking cool games. The influence of this guy, Puppet Combo has done the most to sort of proliferate this PS1 haunted PS1 style of game.
I love it.
So much so to the point where a lot of developers started emulating his style. And then in 2019, he actually started a publishing company called Torture Star Video. And Torture Star Video releases a lot of really well-known games, which I'll read a list of some of the games that Kokusa has published.
Yeah.
Search Party, Ski Freak, which is based off of Ski Free. It's a horror game based off of Ski Free.
Yeah, yeah, it's right there. It's
right,
obvious.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. The Horror of Salazar House, which is kind of like a point and click game, like a first person point and click adventure game. That's a horror game as well. The Booty Creek Cheek Freak, which is a jokey game based on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
I was gonna say the what now?
Yeah, that's a fantastic one. It's pretty funny. Another game called Rewind or Die, No One Lives Under the Lighthouse, which is based off of the film The Lighthouse. Night of the Scissors, Home Safety Hotline, which is a pretty popular game that was making the rounds a couple of years back, and then a game called Sniper Killer, which I've played on stream before. So yeah, that is my chosen developer, Puppet Combo Games.
Would you say a lot of his stuff is like Giallo inspired, and then they just do the demake thing?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's very much heavily Giallo inspired, and a lot of more. It's more so the games he publishes. He publishes, especially this guy named Black Eyed Priest.
So he goes out and finds
his real name is Jordan King. His thing is particularly Giallo films. I think his handle on like Twitter or like on Instagram is Lego My Giallo, which is yeah.
Cute as hell, man. Wow.
Cute as hell.
I just side note from that, the the Phantom of the Opera turned 100 years old this year. That movie came out in 1925. I mentioned it because
Phantom of the Opera,
the original Phantom of the Opera, the
Wow.
Lon Chaney one, is black and white. Is 1925. It's 100 years old. I mentioned that because like 2 weeks ago, I watched the Dario Argento. Well, he made 2 actually. I watched Opera or Terror at the Opera,
I didn't know
depending
he
on which
did
version
one.
you've seen, which is Dario Argento's again version of it, but he's done 2 Phantom of the Opera movies. So
I gotta check
that
that
one
out.
was really cool.
I like Dario Argento. I liked Argento and what was the other guy's name? He did the movie like Zombie and Fulci, yeah, Lucio Fulci. I love Lucio Fulci. That's why these games kind of resonate with me. I love this style of like horror film. I love horror movies. I love horror games.
There are the main shtick of the killer in Opera, who's it's very loosely based on. It takes place in an opera house. What more do you want?
Right. Yeah.
He tortures this girl by not torturing her per se. He ties her up. He tapes pins to her eyelids, so they have to stay open. And then he like kills one of her friends or co-cast members right in front of her and like makes her watch because she can't close her eyes. And then he lets her go. He does this like 4 or 5 times. It's like you have to turn. That's the giallo part of it. Obviously, he's got to mess with the eyes or it's not giallo.
Yeah, exactly right. It wouldn't be a Fulci film if somebody didn't get something in the eyes.
Wow.
But that's my pick. Puppet Combo Games, kick-ass indie dev. Check them out.
Cheers to that. Wow. That was a ride. I was filing through some of those as you rattled off those names, and
some of them were quite scary. I'm not gonna lie.
What was the nun one called?
Nun Massacre.
Nun Massacre.
He's talked about that one a couple times.
Buck, in the bit of video I watched with Nun Massacre, it looked like the way it first person games, you don't move, you kind of drive, like
right.
it kind of It gives me a Tecmo's Deception vibe. The way it drives,
but like straight up
see
horror.
That.
It's cool.
I can see that. Yeah. The noise that nun makes when she finds you is the most horrifying thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like a combination of like screams from like 911 calls and like police sirens and a bunch of shit all like combined together, and it just triggers your fight or flight response like so badly. It just makes you want to scream and run and hide. It's good.
Nah, bro, I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah, no kidding.
Good.
Hard pass.
I might play it on stream.
You okay?
All
Buck,
right.
take us home, brother. What do you have for us today with your video game dev gems?
It would not be me if I did not take us back in time.
Ooh.
And I'm going to take us back in time all the way back to, believe it or not, 1986.
God.
1986, there was a studio that was operated by Hasbro. They were creating games for a console called the Nemo, which ended up being called the Control Vision. That was a console that instead of using cartridges, we weren't on to CD discs yet. It used VHS tapes in place for the games.
Wild.
And I'm talking about Digital Pictures.
Get out of here.
Oh man.
The homies
They're that
made
old?
Night Trap, and I know that made Night Trap and Sewer Shark. And a lot of Sega CD games. These guys specialized in full motion video games, FMV games, if you've heard them called before. There's still developers around that make games like that, like Wales Interactive is still doing a lot of those. But that's the games where you're watching kind of a movie and you're either sending them in a direction a la like Dragon's Lair, or you're just making decisions on the screen on the fly as things are happening. So yes, Tom Zito and the whole crew from Digital Pictures started working for Hasbro, and when they canned the whole thing, that's when they decided to go do their own thing. They had created a playable prototype for a couple of games. One in particular was called Scene of the Crime. It was a 4-minute long whodunit, murder mystery kind of video. That demo is actually on the Night Trap special edition that came out. You can actually play Scene of the Crime. They converted it to digital from freaking VHS.
What?
So they had already put together things for a couple of games, a baseball game, something else. But then they had the ideas together already for Night Trap and Sewer Shark were the first two that they worked on. Night Trap the idea of Night Trap actually began as a Nightmare on Elm Street interactive game, But the talks with New Line or whoever does Freddy went south pretty fast. So they put together something on their own.
I'm not feeling any similarity there.
No,
at
there
all.
isn't. There aren't any similarities. That's what they wanted to do. It didn't work out, so they hired a script writer to do the script for that, and then they went and did Night Trap here. So here was the crazy part for me, like you just said, Vinny. 1986, is that right? What else was happening in 1986? Like the Nintendo was just starting to like pick up. Like and get really crazy. I mean, that's really when 1985-ish was really when the Nintendo, really took off here in the States. So we weren't far off from that. These guys were behind the scenes, because believe it or not, in the case of like Night Trap, Dana Plato, you remember from Different Strokes, was on that. Different Strokes stopped running in 1986. So why is she in a game that was released in 1992? Was she really still popular 6 years later? The short answer to that question is no, because Night Trap was filmed in 1987.
Wow.
Are you serious?
5 years before. 5 years before that game actually came out. So
it wasn't filmed for the Sega CD at all.
It was filmed for the Sega CD. Initially, yes. They weren't quite sure which console it was going to be on, then they decided that was the one that it was going to be on. That's why they released so many games. And so the first two that they focused on were Night Trap and Sewer Shark. And believe it or not, Sewer Shark's budget was twice what Night Trap's was. Night Trap's was like 1.5 million and Sewer Shark's was like 3 million, which for back then was insane money, right?
Wow.
So
Sewer Shark sucked. I'm sorry.
It was a good launch title. Yeah, but
that's a shame.
He's not wrong. So
yeah.
So Tom Zito was kind of sort of the main guy that put together Digital Pictures, but it was actually 6 different ex-team members from that Hasbro i6 team that worked for them. They closed down the development studio, obviously, when they scrapped the console. It was this close to the prototype stage. It was supposed to come out in like 89. So in 86, 87, that's when they were really putting that all together, and it took that 180 because it was just not going to happen. So their idea here was they thought that the future of video games, and at the time they were right, which didn't age well, was to make them interactive movies, right? To be watching a movie and to do all of that. The problem was a lot of the technology of the time and the earliest of the CDs, just the compression could not handle it. If you guys have ever played the Sega CDs, CD games, or any of these kind of games, you know that the video is always smaller than the screen on screen. It's very pixelated, and that was because they needed to fit all that data on a disc. Sometimes it ended up being 2 discs because, like in Supreme Warrior's case, because it just couldn't handle it on the one disc, right? So there was the technical limitations in there that made it not as well presented. There was also the price issue. Sega CD and those consoles were pretty expensive. They made a lot of these games, I don't know if you know Venny or not, but for the 3DO as well. And so they literally made their games for the 2 most expensive.
I played Corpse Killer on the 3DO.
Yes.
And the quality was such a jump from the Sega CD.
Yes.
But I owned a 3DO for like all of a month. It just, I
can't believe you had
story.
One. It was like knowing a kid that had one kind of thing, right?
It's another story. Yeah.
I wish I had experienced the golden age of FNB games. Like, it sounds so cool. Yeah.
So not to segue off, but there's kind of a renaissance of that. There are a lot of those, like I said, with Wales Interactive and some of those companies making a lot of those games too.
True.
So the cool thing about that genre was these guys produced the bulk of the FMV games in the 90s. There were not really any other studios that were doing this. So they had a stranglehold on it, but it's not like they were selling so much that they were totally setting the world on fire. It was enough to get the attention of Acclaim, who bought a majority stake in Digital Pictures at the height of their popularity in the mid 90s. Which went in a totally different direction. So they made lots of different types of FMV games. They made the super obvious ones, not obvious, but the ones that you've seen a lot of, like the Night Traps. They're a live action video. And then like Double Switch, which was pretty similar. It takes place in like an apartment building, and you have control of these different traps and whatnot. They also did ones that were like rail shooters. If you've ever seen Corpse Killer, which this one, it's a really cool game. It's basically a rail shooter, but it goes left to right instead of in other directions, and you're shooting all the enemies on screen. But there's lots of really good scenes that happen in between all those levels. This is a story time with Buck right now too. So if you want to turn on your Spotify video, I'm showing off Sega CD cases while we do that as well too. They took a different direction with some of their titles because they had 2 other let's call them subdivisions that they did. And one was the Make Your Own Music Video series. This is the one starring Crisscross.
I remember that.
Which
so weird.
Which only included the music videos for Jump Jump and I Missed the Bus. Basically, you would watch the music video, and then they would give you multiple different camera shots at the bottom. One would just be like shapes and other 90s shit going on. One was the actual music video, and the other one was other things they'd spliced in there. And you use the A, B, and C button to splice between the three, and then VJ, is your host's name, would then grade your experience based on what you had put together. They also made one with In Excess and another one with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Fucking Marky Mark.
The third type that they made
I can't even
was their kids line, which they only ended up making 2 games for. One that was exclusive to the PC called Make My Story or something stupid, and the other one was this, Kids on Site. This was kids learning about construction equipment.
No way. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, honestly,
before ESRB when it came out, so its rating is kids to adult comic mischief. Because they just threw their own thing. Oh, it did have kids to adults on here, and then they put the little thing in there. It's very. Max sent us a producer note. It's very Tim and Eric. You would not believe how Tim. Look at again, video time, kids. Look at the adults on this thing. Like it is so very Tim and Eric. I think this one still has my digital pictures tattoo inside.
It would be the most deliciously awkward thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm all about it. I'm all for it. Kind
of what happened here. So by the mid, it was funny. So sorry, just to segue back a second. The Tom Zito, again, who was kind of the main guy at Digital Pictures, headed up a lot of these projects. And I found a pretty interesting quote from him that showed you the direction he thought these games were going in that it didn't end up doing. And that was, we're betting ultimately that when there's an interactive cable converter sitting on top of everybody's TV set, that something that feels more like Citizen Kane will have more legs than something like Mario.
I mean,
I'm sorry?
Look, the height of Digital Pictures, they had some pretty cool stuff. They had Sewer Shark and Night Trap were like the first two that brought them on the map, in my opinion. But then you also, and Ground Zero Texas. Let's not forget that one.
Absolutely.
But then the big three that really spidered out, and they did Sega CD, 32X, 3DO, PC. They went all in. Was Corpse Killer, Supreme Warrior, and Slam City.
Slam City, was starring Scotty.
That was, and each player, each opponent had their own disc on the Sega CD version of Slam City.
That's how bad the compression was.
It was a 4-disc game, man.
This was not a DVD console. These were CD consoles. Right, yeah. So it was holding a fraction of the data.
Correct.
Wow. Ironically, the last game that they finished that never got released is called Citizen X, which I own a copy of through the person. There's a company called Good Deal Games that licensed this from whoever had the rights to their game that wasn't finished. It's funny because he referenced Citizen Kane, and their last game's called Citizen X. I think I brought this up on a previous episode when we talked about Sega CD because I thought it was pretty cool. So by the mid 90s, this stuff was starting to wane, right? It was not as popular anymore. By the time the PS1 came out, the Sega CD was completely forgotten, and I'm sure they explored looking at some of these things, but by that point, again, it was kind of Acclaim's decision to make, I think, and not theirs. Plus, all the stuff happened with the ESRB and the rating system, and they kind of got into some crap, and Night Trap being reprinted a million times was kind of a weird thing. I learned something really cool in some research about a company I thought I knew most about. So Digital Pictures in the late 90s was working on another game that was supposed to be a Saturn game, which, by the way, Jenny, they did make a Saturn football game with Quarterback Attack with Mike Ditka.
I remember Quarterback Attack.
It's exactly what you think it's going to be if you played Slam City. It is a first-person, full-motion video football game.
Wild.
It's funny. When you brought it up last night, he brought this up last night when we were playing the new Elden Ring game. He was like, oh, yeah, Mike Ditka football. And I'm like, why haven't I didn't make the connection. And the moment you just said Quarterback Attack, it all came rushing back.
So I learned about a game they were making that didn't happen at all, which I didn't know anything about this. So in the late 90s, they were working on a game. It didn't pan out, and they had filmed the whole damn thing. So this got turned into 2003's direct-to-video release, Game Over, or Maximum Surge, depending on where you are in the world that this got released, featuring Yasmin Bleeth of Baywatch fame and Walter Koenig, a.k.a. Chekhov from the original Star Trek show.
Perfect.
This movie, I've watched this now. This movie oozes like discount hackers. Like the whole, you would love it, Benny, because everything about it is like, you can tell it's digital pictures. The camera angles, the way the camera follows characters, the music, the way that the writing and the directing is on the actors, like everything about this is like, this is a digital pictures game. This is just, I just can't hit A to select, hack.
Nice.
So, like I said, we're going back in time with all of this, but I also bring them up because their Screaming Villains and Limited Run and a couple of production companies did relicense some of these games and re-release them. So unlike most of the Sega CD crap that I talk about, you can actually play these games. They're out on every modern console, both digitally and physically. You can play Double Switch, Corpse Killer, Ground Zero Texas, Night Trap, and they have these collector's editions that have, you guys have seen before my Night Trap one that has a VHS tape and all the cool stuff in it. Yeah. They have lots of behind the scenes stuff. You can play early builds of some of these games. It's a really cool homage to all these games, and they have some of the updated versions on there too, because they got the original film to do it, and so they got to encode it all with not like 28K like bit rate. It's
Man, good stuff, man. Wow, fellas, that was a wild ride. I did, especially Raps. I did not see that coming. That was sick. All right, we're gonna take a really quick break here, then we're gonna wrap it up with our weekly segment. What else you got? See you in a moment.
Okay, Rook, today you get your shot. Nebbit here's out with a busted shoulder.
Welcome to the jungle, kid.
All right, we are back, and we're going to wrap this episode up with our weekly segment where we talk about anything else we got going on. Video games, movies, life. This is our What Else You Got segment. I will go first, since I always go last. I get to go first today. Take that. So, my What Else You Got this week. Obviously, come on. The new Elden Ring came out yesterday. And seriously, it's got to be the most unexpected Souls experience I've ever seen. When Buck and I loaded in last night, and he was like, yeah, it's fast map traversal. You can jump off any. I'm like, huh? Seriously, you are zipping at a breakneck speed, a la, I don't even know what to compare it to. And it's got the like Eye of the Storm ring mechanic. This game is literally a shrinking map battle royale PvE game.
I think we're doing a whole episode on it.
Shooter, I guess, right?
We are. Yeah. We're doing a whole episode on it, but I mean, this is the very first time we've ever really talked about it after release. It's got there's so much under the hood. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to playing a little bit more. I know Buck and I definitely have some overlap on one, so I'll leave that one for him.
Oh no, you can talk about it. wasn't going to talk about.
You want to talk about Fuga?
Fuga.
Oh, all right.
Fuga 3 came out.
Oh,
Fuga
baby.
3. Fuga
baby.
3. Yeah.
Chapter 1 was really heavy. Did you finish it? Did you finish Chapter 1?
I finished Chapter 1.
Okay.
I'm going to just be really brief on Fuga 3. There was some very objectionable things for me in Chapter 1 of Fuga 3. You're not going to like what I'm about to say, Buck. I refunded it.
No. Why?
Oh,
because I got to take a stand against some artistic choice that they made on Fuga 3.
Shit.
I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I don't think here's the place unless we want to get into it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. We could talk about it offline.
Fine, yeah.
Whoa, what? I mean, they've always been furries. Does that bother you?
No, not at all.
They've always been furries, fun.
Not one bit.
All right, yeah.
But
okay.
Seriously, good. I mean, it's a solid game. Can't knock it in any way. I adored parts 1 and 2.
The new mechanics are really fun. The group mechanics, the assist mechanics, and everything are really
definitely
good.
They have come a long way. If you compare part 1 to 3, it's like already you could in Chapter 1.
The production quality is phenomenal. Just like that game is all told in like still frame cutscenes, but with animation kind of sorta, and there's the added animation on top of it with particle effects and all those kinds of things is just heads tails better than the first two.
Yeah. And lastly but not least, certainly not least, you know, I had this attitude with Pirate Majima that I just really want to get through this game. I want to know the story. You know, I'm not going to take my time on this one. I'm just going to kind of clip through it at a pace. You know, because all right, the first 10 hours felt like tutorial because it's all, you know, new systems. We've never done pirate ships before. We've never done crews and raids and stuff before. It's very new for the Yakuza franchise. So I'm just like, okay, you know, it's a lot. I got other games I want to play. I'm going to kind of move through it at a nice clip.
Too many games.
And then it started getting really, really fucking fun. I was like, damn it. Oh, now I really want to take my time on this one. So finally given some time on that one. But anyway, that is my what else you got for the week. Raph, you want to follow me and move along with
absolutely
with this puppy?
Super reverse order, go.
Super reverse.
I was about to say the war for Super Earth, guys. It's not going well. It's not going well at all. In fact, 2 of the 4 major mega cities have already fallen. All that stands against the Illuminate threat is Prosperity City and Equality on the Sea.
Okay, so is this either a genius move? And they like
Beautiful.
did all the math on what their player base was and how many players they knew would come back to play, knowing that we would then rally to help one another and stop it? Or did they fuck up and everything's going to get destroyed?
So what's going on right now, as far as like the player base?
What a ride, man.
An unprecedented amount of people have jumped onto this game. They actually, I don't think they expected how many people were going to be on it. But about 10 to 15% of the players are not on Super Earth. They're actually fighting bugs and bots.
Right, they're just playing the game, or maybe they just picked it up, and so they're doing the beginning portions.
A lot of people, they just like playing against bots. They like playing against bugs. The Illuminate are like a fairly difficult faction to play against. But yeah, it looks like a lot of people are not on Super Earth, and I think that might have something to do with it. But I'm going to be frank. I think that we are meant to lose most of Super Earth until we get to Prosperity City, which is the capital of Super Earth. It's, by the way, based in Sweden, which I think is hilarious that the Swedish developer made the capital of Super Earth Sweden.
Happiest
called
country
it
on Earth?
Prosperity City.
Prosperity
That's
City.
fantastic.
Yeah. My favorite is Shanghai is called Equality on the Sea. That's just the name of the city, is Equality on the Sea, which is the only other city that's left. Was it York Superior or Super York? That city fell the other day.
Super York.
Yeah, Super York fell a couple of days ago. Yeah,
no.
So I have a feeling.
York Superior.
So all the Italian restaurants are gone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now they're all in Sweden. I have a feeling that the final stand is going to be on Prosperity on the Sea. We're going to have to fight to hold the capital. And I'm hoping that that's just part of the story. Who knows? I have no idea where they're going with this.
I was going to say, you're hoping.
I'm hoping, right? It's wild that a game could make me feel this way. Like, I'm like, God, I hope Super Earth doesn't fall. We need to rally, brothers. We need to battle the squids in the sea and whatever in the streets. But yeah, dude, that's basically all I've got going on right now. There's a few other things, but I'm gonna save those for when we cover Night Rain, because I wanted to play that and all that stuff. I ended up downloading it last night. But yeah, basically the fight for Super Earth is not going well right now. So that's what else I got at the moment.
Awesome. Man, you know, I had heard little bits and bops about the resurgence of Helldivers, and I really didn't have enough time to dig in and find what the hell's going on with this game. What are they doing now? You know, but the way they have run the marketing, not even necessarily the marketing, so to speak, but just, you know, the hype surrounding a game, like when a patch hits or when something new comes out, or hey, they added this, or this chapter came out. I have not seen anything quite like Helldivers.
It goes up and down, you know, like the player numbers for a little bit there, they were a little unhappy. And then when the Illuminate showed up, I think there was a big surge of players. And then as soon as they started getting some of the city maps, the ones that are on the colonies, like the outskirts of Earth, that's when people got it. Like it really piqued people's interest. And then obviously the invasion happened, and that's when everybody jumped back on. And it's been exciting, man. It's been wild, like, to be part of this big like gaming event that's happening. Like it's very cool. It's
a good way to roll that all out. Yeah,
right,
for sure.
Fantastic.
I was there when Super Earth fell.
How was that, Gandalf?
2,000 years ago. Megabuck, take us home, brother. What else you got?
I brought something a little different that you guys have brought before, but I don't normally bring, and that is a YouTube channel.
Cool.
Hey, all right.
This is RP Giebs Music Arcade. Giebs, a.k.a. GB, a.k.a. his real name is George Del Barrio. George Del Barrio is a third-generation composer. His father, so George Del Barrio was famous for all kinds of stuff, TVs and whatnot in the 90s, and he wrote What's Love Got to Do with It, and a lot of other songs. And then his dad, Jorge Del Barrio, George Del Barrio, was also a composer, and his grandfather, Eddie Del Barrio, was also a composer. He even collaborated with Earth, Wind, and Fire and Stan Getz and some other jazz musicians and stuff.
Holy smokes.
So I find this dude because I'm going down the Expedition 33 rabbit hole with how amazing this Lauren's music is. And it looks like he's been doing these for a couple of years now. He's basically a guy who is in TV and the music industry composing music. And he realized at some point that video game and anime music is real music. Like we already knew, but most people his age, because I think he's in his 60s now, don't know. So he started like a Patreon, started a YouTube page, and started asking people to throw tracks at him from different games. And if you go back and look at some of his stuff, I mean, people have thrown Phoenix Wright tracks at him. And Xenoblade Chronicles and Kingdom Hearts and all kinds of pretty, obscure to obvious stuff. And then they throw anime stuff at him.
Castlevania 4.
Yeah, they've thrown anime stuff at him like Lupin and Made in Abyss and stuff like that. Helldivers 2.
Holy smokes.
He did the main theme for Helldivers 2. And so he basically will do a live Twitch session, and he'll listen to these for the first time, and he'll give his reaction as a real composer, and he'll talk about different things that they did and how everything else, and all this background piano on that track and whatnot. And it was just very interesting. He was very interesting because he's obviously extremely knowledgeable in the industry and knowing how to compose not just a musician, but someone who composes these tracks, someone who creates these tracks. And I watched his there was one for Expedition 33 for Clair Obscur that he watched, was this little orchestral session that they made. It's like this 15-20 minute video that has like a 2-3 minute clips of 5 or 6 of the best tracks from that game. And him just listening to that, and by about halfway through, he's like, I never would have guessed this was a video game if you hadn't told me.
I mean, it's got a beautiful sound. I really got to get back into that game.
He did JoJo.
Dude, yeah, they've thrown some amazing stuff at him.
Yes.
Real quick, Buck, what was the name again? I'm sorry, what was the name of the channel?
The channel is, I linked it in there for you guys too, but it's RP Giebs, Geebz Music Arcade.
Okay, cool.
And he has some really cool stuff. I mean, literally 3 weeks ago, he did the Suicide Mission track from Mass Effect 2.
Oh man!
Hell yeah,
man!
dude.
So it's like,
wow,
he's done some. He lets his viewers and his audience throw these at him, rather than him trying to go ding. 5 months ago, he did Lonely Rolling Star.
It looks like his first ever video game track that he did this to was Nier Automata.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It's just some amazing stuff. I mean,
that's cool.
I haven't watched the Lonely Rolling Star video.
This is great. He's got a lot of content.
Yeah,
and the channel's only like less than 3 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
He does like Twitch sessions
right here. This
yeah,
is amazing. I love it.
It's pretty good.
Nice.
It's very. You can just tell you just listen to him for like 5 minutes, and you can tell, okay, this guy really knows his stuff, and so this is really cool to watch.
Lonely
and talk about.
Rolling Star, give it to me. Love it.
It's half fun to just see those, and it's not like he totally like breaks them down. He doesn't go, okay, now I'm gonna break. Like I've seen other channels that I really like, but they like just break them down like crazy, and it's not. I don't know. It gets to be a little too much. Most of his videos are like 10 to 20 minutes long, most of these videos, because they're from Twitch sessions. So he just carves these parts out, keeps it kind of short and sweet. He did just do a musical walkthrough of Ocarina of Time, though. That's like an hour and a half. So I think he did like the full soundtrack, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm excited to check.
It looks like his
first one I'm going to watch here.
It looks like his first watch some of his short ones first, because they're really good, because it looks like that's the first long form one that he's done. Oh my God, he did Gas, Gas, Gas from Initial D.
I just saw that thumbnail. That's great.
Sorry,
That's great.
He did the smart thing. Rather than like most of these guys that go and say, I'm going to go find this really important piece of music to anime fans or video game fans, I'm going to do it. He just asks his Patreons or his Twitch people, or he makes them pay $5 and says, do this one next. And he goes, okay. Anyway, that's my what else you got. I just got the one.
Good choice, man. This is a good channel. I'm going to
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah,
love the video game music.
Oh, my gosh.
Video game music is music.
It is. If you don't know that, you just haven't heard the right stuff yet.
Accurate.
It's anime, video game music. If you think movie music, soundtrack music is good, there's no difference at all. It's all fantastic.
Not anymore.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for the week. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song. Are we still doing Attack of the Droids?
Clash of the Droids.
Clash of the
Their
Droids.
new album is out. In the Dark
Very
is
good.
out. Go listen to it.
Fantastic. Awesome. Do us a huge favor, guys. Like and subscribe if you're listening to this on your podcast app, especially. And I would suggest head over to our YouTube channel and catch our live streams every week. And you can reach us via email with any questions, comments, or games you want us to play at GameTreasurePodcast@gmail.com. Head over to our merch store at thegametreasurepodcast.printify.me. And finally, most importantly, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/thegtp. As a subscriber,
Words
you'll
are
gain
hard.
access to our exclusive content. You can find all of these links in our link tree at linktree/thegtp. And of course, we want to thank RetroGameTreasure.com, owned and operated by our very own the Mega Buck. RetroGameTreasure.com is a subscription service that takes the hassle out of collecting retro video games. No more hunting, no more guessing, no more wasted time or money on lots. Instead, Retro Game Treasure subscribers select a wide variety of consoles and game genres, and they come to you every month in this awesome box. Have you seen the box? I mean, I've been in his warehouse before. It's beautiful. They got this whole
Actual
thing set
treasure.
up. And you actually keep them. It's not a rental. That you keep it. It's awesome.
Yours.
You want to start collecting on a brand new console that you've never owned before? Retro Game Treasure has you covered. No problem. Head over to their console shop if you want to start something new or get great details on new refurbished consoles. They got it all. Seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. And that's going to be it for our show, guys. My name is Mr. Vinicor, and I love the Game Treasure podcast. It's so bad.
It's so bad.